Hi, this is Pastor Jim, and I want to welcome you to our short series for this election season called Called to Vote. What we want to do in our time together during these sessions is not so much to look at specific issues or specific candidates, but to think about what it means to be responsible Christians, citizens, who participate with our vote in shaping our government and the issues of our day. One of the things that we must understand when it comes to voting is that we are being asked to make a choice, to distinguish between right and wrong. And so it's important to understand how we arrive at that distinction between right and wrong and what the limits are of our methods for arriving at that distinction. Now, as Christians, we take our worldview, we take our approach to life from Scripture. 2 Timothy 3 verses 15 and 16 tells us that all Scripture is breathed out by God and profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, and for training in righteousness. We take that Scripture as an understanding that God has laid out in Scripture principles by which we live as Christians and serve as a guide as to what is right and what is wrong. Given that, though, we also know that Scripture doesn't tell us everything. It doesn't tell us who to vote for instance. It doesn't give us a slate of candidates and tell us which ones are the right candidates and which ones are the wrong ones. It doesn't give us a slate of proposed legislation or issues and tell us how to vote on them. It gives us a series of principles and stories and guidelines, but often we are left in determining right from wrong, applying our own human reason to our understanding of what God has said, and applying it to the issues before us and the choices we have to make at the voting box. So in determining what is right and wrong, and in approaching our participation in the process, it's important that we differentiate carefully between what God has said and what we have come to from our own faith and our own reasoning. And it means that we should probably exercise a lot of grace when it comes not only to making choices, but in living with those choices and in approaching those who have made different choices at the voting box, because we are fallible human beings. As Christians, we're motivated to vote and to participate by our love for God and by the love of Christ and by a desire to see the world governed by godly principles and godly rules. But as Christians, we only go armed with what Scripture gives us and our own best thinking on that. And because of that, we know that we can get it wrong. And in getting it wrong, we must allow grace. Grace for ourselves, grace for others, grace in the process, knowing that God is in control of it all. So as we think about going to the voting box, let us think about the limits of our ability and the grace that it takes to be able to be responsible citizens. Until next time, grace and peace.